because while the rest of the country was fighting the British, the RSS was singing praises to the British. Their ideologue Savarkar used to take pension from the British. We know what happened to our friend Umar Khalid. The left is what has kept this struggle for democracy also alive. When they talk about uniform civil code, what are they talking? They mean that the autonomy of young women will be curbed. I don't think it was electoral democracy which brought us the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan. It was people on the streets for days on end, 24/7 in a week, yeah? Such
Didn't
things.
electoral democracy bring us people like Dharmendra Pradhan? So isn't it also necessary that we go there as well?
Yeah. I mean, I don't discard electoral democracy at all. It is important that the left register its strong presence even there. When you are taking away the lands of Adivasis and indigenous people from the forests and selling it at the cost of peanuts to your corporate friends, you don't need a pellet gun to disperse a crowd. You don't need your lathis to be embedded with nails to disperse a crowd. The very idea that human beings in a democracy must be equal, that is at threat.
What are the other challenges facing independent India?
Oh, where to begin? What we're facing with today.
The Jantar Mandar student protest caused a huge stir in India, and in recent times it's one of the only protests that have proved successful against the central government. So why do you think it was successful?
I think it was successful not because there was something extraordinary about the people who were organizing it per se, but because there was such anger that had accumulated over so many years, and the NEET paper leak was not the first paper leak. Paper leaks happen every year in this country, and they happen in every state, and they happen across medical, engineering, school, police, public services, teachers' recruitment, everywhere. They happen across the different bodies and genres. So I think it was young people saying that, we're really tired of what you're subjecting us to. We are studying so hard. Our parents are putting in all of their money, financial resources into our education. And even when we give our examination honestly, we prepare for it honestly, we slave at it, we work hours and hours at it, it doesn't make sense. And it's of no consequence because it'll only be the people who have money in their pockets to buy the question paper who will clear it. And I think it was this disappointment and anger that led to the fact that this protest would be successful.
The sacred cow illusion about the BJP and the central government shattered with this protest. So what do you think the Indian Gen Zs, how do they view the BJP and the central government?
I think they view the BJP as a great source of meme and content. And I think beyond that, we also view the BJP and the central government as a source of state repression, as people who can order the firing of pellet guns, the firing of AK-47s, and the firing of pistols at citizens, common citizens who are just marching to the parliament, and even the police rhetoric of, dispersing the crowd, that we were just doing things to disperse the crowd. You don't need a pellet gun to disperse a crowd. You don't need your lathis to be embedded with nails to disperse a crowd. So it's a very unusual, ironical duality that we see the government as a source of great amusement and a source of content, but we also understand that at the heart of them, they are cruel, criminal, and violent.
Credible. How effective do you think are Gandhian methods of protest like hunger strikes against the current government?
Actually, of course, Sonam Wangchuk was also sitting on a hunger strike. And while he appealed to the consciousness of the government, we never appealed to the conscience of the government. We always appealed to the conscience of the people. We know what the government looks at us as. We know what happened to Rohit Vemula and what Radhika Amma was subjected to. We know what happened to our friend Umar Khalid. We know what happened to the farmers who had laid siege to Delhi. More than 700 of them were killed during the farmers' protests. We know what the government sees when they look at us, and they don't see fellow citizens. They don't see people whose safety, security, and well-being is their responsibility. They see us as, hurdles to their aim for ultimate power, perhaps. but not as with empathy, not with solidarity, not with any form of human emotion, but just a means to an end. So, what we think when we look at the government or when we see it as is that it is a force which has been a problem for us, be it the students, be it the equal citizenship protests, be it the protests against the three labor codes, be it farm laws. At different junctures and different sections of the society are currently fighting for their very existence, for their very survival. And we extend solidarity to them, we stand in solidarity with them through these protests, and yeah.
Something that's special about the Jantar Mandar protests is that humor was an important part of it. But there are allegations that sometimes this humor led to things that were misogynistic, that were mocking marginalized communities, and even outright curses a lot of the times. What's your response to that?
No, I think it tells us a lot about the kind of society we've grown up in. Why do young people think that to make fun of someone or to denigrate someone or to demean someone, the only words at your disposal are casteist, misogynist, communal, classist, all of these. So that's because the society looks at itself that way. We see that the wealthy, the elite, the people with power, they represent the zenith and pinnacle of human civilization. And Dalits, women, Muslims, Adivasis, they all, transgender people, they all represent, their entire existence is satire. Their entire existence is humiliation. And that is why our words, calling someone a woman, portraying the Prime Minister as a woman, and to say that, he does not have the guts to face students, we see that as the only way in which we can demean someone. We see caste abuse, we see communal abuse, we see misogynist abuse as the only way to denigrate someone. And that is because that is what the society has brought us up in. The first time we hear these kind of abuses is from our families and family friends and our classmates and our teachers. So if you bring us up in a society which uses misogyny, casteism, communal hatred as a tool, as a weapon aimed at the marginalized and the people who don't occupy spaces of power, then it should not be a surprise that your young are repeating this. In fact, if anything, you should look at young people. We should all look at, younger generations. I mean, I'm young, but I'll say younger generations. And we should, and our peers and friends, with utmost empathy. Because they did not have access to a different kind of language, that they use this language. If they had an understanding, if they were given a choice and told that to call someone darpok, you don't have to depict them as a woman. You can just say they're darpok, and that's enough. And everybody will understand. And I think young people will choose to be on the right side of politics and to be on the right side of history instead of misogyny and casteism now.
In the protest, what was the role of left student organizations, including yours, in formulating its slogans and organizing it?
So I think while the popularity and the social media popularity of it came from the handle of the CJP and other CJP persons and spokespersons and founder, because they had a knack for it. They know how to run social media because that's how they worked as in their initial capacity with other political parties. So they know how to run that. They immediately acquired a following of their handles. So while that popular aspect of it and the reach came from their handles, the gravity of what we were fighting for, it was not just the resignation of a person, of an individual. It was to represent the disappointment and frustration of generations of young people before us and after us. So that gravitas and the fact that NTA was an agency that was single-handedly responsible for this mishap, that the NEP institutionalizes such mishaps and paper leaks and corruption, putting that into perspective and also consolidating the message of solidarity, cutting across different divisions of caste, class, gender, religion, all of that. That was consolidated on the ideological heft of the left. And also, along with that, the organizational strength provided by the left. Because what to do? An indefinite sit-in is a very boring thing for people to witness, honestly speaking. So how do you bring in more people to an indefinite protest? Is a question that we have faced and, I don't know, conquered, dare I say, long ago. We've done multiple indefinite sit-ins, and that is why we know what to do. That you have to bring in more people, you have to appeal to them, you have to bring in more people to your stage, have them broaden the idea of what you fight for, have them come and say that, our section of the society or our community, like for example, professors, we the professors or we the educationists who have seen the education system in and out, we stand in solidarity with this protest. Having farmers come in and say that, when we were fighting, these young people stood with us, or young people stood with us, and now that they are fighting, we'll stand with them. So this idea and this experience of politics came from organizations, left organizations.
Although left organizations like AISA cultivated a strong presence inside campuses, we often see that it does not extend outside campuses with the same strength. What can you do about that?
No, I think because AISA is essentially a campus organization. We work within...
left-wing organizations in general.
Oh, as in you mean in politics larger? Okay. So I think I would revert back to my understanding that politics is not just that happens in the parliament or during once in 5 times, right? Politics is how different systems of thought compete with one another for dominance in the society. So when that happens, that does not necessarily happen through electoral democracy. It happens through mass movements such as the Jantar Mantar protest. I don't think it was electoral democracy which brought us the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan. It was people on the streets for days on end, 24/7 in a week, yeah? The farmers, the repeal of the farm laws was achieved through mass movements and through people's unity. And all of such things...
electoral democracy bring us people like Dharmendra Pradhan? So isn't it also necessary that we go there as well?
Yeah. I mean, I don't discard electoral democracy at all. It is very important that electoral democracy, which does indeed represent the aspirations of a lot of the common people of this country. It is important that the left register its strong presence even there. And in that regard, there is something to be desired from the left also. And it is something that we want to work at. It has taken years to put left out of power. It has taken years of propaganda, resource, human resource, actual financial capital. It has taken a lot to associate the left with something foreign in this country, right? And I mean, it has been going on since the Cold War propaganda started, that, the left, which represents a different world, which represents a different idea of how society can be arranged, that has to be villainized. Everything that threatens the capitalist mode of existence is villainized and otherized. And that is why also several other, so liberation theology is an example of that. Different religions that came up as a critique of their current systems are currently under threat. Similarly, different ideologies, be it the socialist ideology or the communist ideology, which was a threat to the absolute imperialist plunder of resources in Latin America, in West Asia, or Southeast Asia, all of these understandings and ways of looking at the world, ideologies, have been criminalized. They have been othered completely. And I think it will take us many years of work and equal amounts of hard work to undo this damage, and we are hard at work at it.
And yet, in countries like America, we are seeing a democratic socialist movement, etc. So do you think we can expect a similar presence of the left in India as well in the coming years?
No, I think our fellow comrades in America have also got a lot to learn from here, our fellow comrades here in India, and similarly, and vice versa. We have a lot to learn from our comrades there in America. And even though Zahran Mamdani's electoral victory and campaign brought a lot of hope to a lot of people, because he represented convergence and he represented the voices of a lot of marginalized groups, even in America. And it was not just that he was his parents are from Indian origin, or that his parents and upbringing is Muslim, or that he is a socialist. He's not a socialist. All of that, and he's young. Also, he's young. Amongst this horde of old men, he's a young person. All of this means a lot of hope for, us also here in India. I hope it is young people who follow his model, and in fact, even better models that are there in Latin America, in Cuba, in several other places. I hope we emulate that, hopefully, yeah.
In a country like India, how relevant and necessary is left-wing politics?
I think it's very, very relevant because in a country like India, the conception of India came from a lot of left-wing revolutionaries, right? In fact, our very constitution has the word socialist in it. And socialism essentially does mean that the state is responsible for its citizens. More and more infrastructures, be it in health, education, or others, they have to be managed by the state, taken up by the state, to ensure that maximum people within a country have access to it. And that is why the left is extremely relevant. The left is what has kept this struggle for democracy also alive. Even though we say that it's India Alliance forces or mainstream political parties, anti-BJP political parties that are talking about the constitution and that are talking about democracy, that's not really true. At the essence of democracy is equality. It is not just that everybody has equal, everybody's vote is equal and everybody has one vote. That's there in principle. But what does this mean on a philosophical plane? What it did and how it was different from previous modes of existence was that it also meant that everybody would be equal. Those who were voting, irrespective of their caste, class, religion, gender, would be equal in the fact that they would decide equally who would be at the helm of state power, and that all of their votes would have equal emphasis, and that any one of them could also one day represent people in the parliament. That's what it essentially meant in terms of idea. And that is what is at threat currently. Not just SIR and not just gerrymandering and not just actual election booths in the pockets of the ruling party. It's not just that. The very idea that human beings in a democracy must be equal, that is at threat. And I guess that is also at that all human beings should be equal is also at the heart of left politics. And I think that is why it continues to remain very, very relevant in this country. Yeah.
You've already talked about this, but what are the other challenges facing independent India, especially the students and the youth of India?
Oh, where to begin? What we're facing with today. The utter crisis of the education system is not just limited to paper leaks. Right when you enter school, this happens because I stay in Delhi. I've been staying in Delhi for some time now for my education. So I got to know that this is a very common thing that happens in Delhi. There is massive competition for preschools. You want to put your children in a preschool, you have to line up since the morning for forms. There is immense corruption that happens there. Donations is what's going to ensure that your kids get through to a school, and then how you're treated there is another matter and a reflection of the society. So right from the moment you enter school, a school is not a place of learning where all of your other things are taken care of and you're free to explore how you think of the world, how you wish to interact with fellow human beings, or to put it even more simply, what you think about yourself. Who are you? What am I? What do I mean? What does my existence mean? What is love? What is care? What is empathy? A school system should ideally, promote young people and, encourage them to explore these ideas, to find new definitions, to find new ways of looking at the world, be creative, be imaginative. And that is not just limited to humanities. Science, maths, physics is perhaps, that's what I used to look at it as when I was in school, that they push your boundaries of imagination, right? I think before class 9, you think that after 0 is 1. After 1 is 2. It is maths that tells you that between 0 and 1 are countless infinite number of possibilities. It's maths that teaches you that. So it tells you that between hatred and love, there are countless possibilities and negotiations that take place. You need not hate a person, you need not agree with a person and disagree with a person, and agreement means love and disagreement means hate and violence. That's not the only choice in front of us. So science teaches us a lot, history teaches us a lot, political science teaches us a lot. If only our school systems were aimed at teaching us and at learning. Instead, they are aimed at school mein jitni mehnat karni hai kar lo, because after that the real world starts and the real world is cruel. So you have to study here and you have to either become an engineer or a doctor, because these are the only two professions that have any decent amount of respect in our society and who have a secure job. So this is what our education system is. It's not young people becoming adults, young people trying to figure out who they are and what they are. It's not that. School system is that. And higher education, even more so. You're in higher education now. What do? If you're in an engineering college, then all forms of life out of your campus or classroom is wrung out. You are constantly told, oh, an MNC is coming. If you don't perform well, if you don't score well, they're not going to recruit you. Perform well, perform well. Human interaction, what is that? What's happening in the world around you, what is that? It's engineering colleges, medical colleges, where majority of the student suicides happen. Why is that? Why are institutions which are supposed to be recruiting, or which are supposed to be, places nurturing the cream of the country, so to say, because engineers and medical professionals are the cream of the country and nobody else. That's what our school teachers used to tell us. So if they're the cream of the country, then why are these institutions forcing them to commit suicide? Why are higher education institutions like this? There is such great research and extensive research on the kind of caste discrimination and violence that goes around in the IITs. Why are our institutions places for that? Why is a Fatima Latif's institutional murder possible in a higher institution? Why is a Payal Tadvi, who was going to be a bright young woman, doctor, why is her institutional murder a part of the education system? Why is Rohit Vemula's institutional murder a part of the education system, right? It clearly means that there is something gravely wrong. So I think to begin with, these are a few things that are faced by us as the young people in the country.
Would you like to say something about how casteism, communism, and especially the general authoritarian style of government is affecting the students?
Yeah, I think all the divisions that exist in our society have been deepened by the current dispensation, because they thrive on the politics of divide and rule. They've learned best from their British ancestors, because while the rest of the country was fighting the British, the RSS was singing praises to the British. Their ideologue Savarkar used to take pension from the British. I am not joking. It's factually correct, and people who are listening should check this out. He used to take pension from the British. That is their ideology. When young people were going to protests, they were saying, why are you protesting? The Mughal Empire has been defeated, and hence Muslims have been defeated, and we must hail the British Empire because they have liberated us from Muslim rule. And eventually, we have to work, the Hindus of the country have to work alongside them and provide no disruption to them. That is what the RSS's mouthpiece, the organizer, was saying when young people were laying down their lives for the freedom of this country. So even now, this division based on caste, this division based on religion, this utmost misogyny at the core of their politics is what they practice now also. They've not changed. They were doing this before and they're doing this now. And when you look at the kind of policies that they bring about, you see that all of this hatred and all of this division is at its core. When they talk about Uniform Civil Code, what are they talking about? What do they mean? They mean that the autonomy of young women will be curbed. When they talk about an anti-conversion law, what do they mean? They mean that young Muslim boys will be put behind bars and young Hindu women will not be allowed to step outside their houses. When they talk about the labor codes, what do they mean? They mean that thousands upon thousands of workers who labor 18 hours a day 12 hours, 18 hours a day, making the roads upon which we work, the clothes that we wear, the shoes that we wear, the cars that we drive, everything from roads to cars, everything is being labored at by the working class of this country. And when you bring in the labor codes, you're saying that they don't have the right to be human. They will not have access to the basic dignity of getting a minimum wage. That is what you're doing. When you try to push in women's reservation along with delimitation, because you actually want to push in delimitation and you want political parties to be aware that they should not look like they're opposing women's reservation, and that is why let both of them pass. When you do that, you're actually showing people how gender just your policies are. When you are taking away the lands of Adivasis and indigenous people from the forests and selling it at the cost of peanuts to your corporate friends, you're showing the common people of this country what you think of them.